Generally, I tend towards the left wing, as I've noticed on this channel numerous times. But there are a few areas where I might align with conservatives, and the usage of LTNs in London is one of those. Numerous councils introduce these and the way they introduced them in a piecemeal and poorly thought out fashion was not exactly well advised. I've always thought they bung them in basically. And as an example of this, I'm going to take a piece from a local paper. It's a small paper, it's kind of a community paper, almost a Hackney Citizen. And this is talking about how the LTNs cause hideous problems for the Orthodox Jewish community in Stamford Hill. And not just them either, but mind you, Stamford Hill is particularly noteworthy for this, as if you get on a bus at Stamford Hill, due to this at the minute, you may find yourself thinking you may be on there for eternity, especially at peak times. Stamford Hill campaigners blast Hackney Transport Police for upending life's Charedi community by Joseph Steen, local democracy reporter. Friday the 31st of January at 13:47. Members of Hackney's Charedi community have slammed Hackney's traffic policy for upending the lives of residents by turning 5-minute journeys into half-hour ordeals. I think he's been rather generous there, as if you take a bus and try and go around some areas, like the infamous Pembury Circus in Hackney, you may as well just get out and walk if you're capable of it, because you're not getting anywhere in a hurry at a peak point. Because the LTNs were put in with very little planning, and although they were supposed to be referred to locals, this was all done in a kind of cloak and dagger under the table style, and many people never realised there were any consultations at all. And it's all become a bit of a joke locally. The people complaining about it locally have often been dismissed as just older boomers or ill-educated older people who couldn't possibly understand the complexity of these issues. And there's a feeling of condescension and high-handedness from Hackney Council, which is just doing that and pushing them off. Now, that's annoying. The Jewish Community Council last week announced the launch of the Stamford Hill Traffic Action Plan, set up to tackle the ripple effect of low traffic neighbourhoods, LTNs, extra bus lanes, and school street restrictions. Well, one very annoying effect of the LTNs for many people in Hackney, especially the elderly, is they can't get to hospital appointments, nor can people easily get to doctor's appointments, because getting on a bus or getting anywhere is, again, you may as well be moving at the speed of a mortally wounded snail. The group claims these changes have brought diminished footfall for local businesses. Could quite see that. I could definitely see that, in fact. Delayed school runs have made it harder for voluntary emergency groups to navigate the area efficiently. But one thing they touch on next is here, Levi Shapiro. Well, the majority of families in our community owning a car is not a luxury, and it shows how Hackney Council, the council that will go for a photo opportunity about being diverse at the drop of a very, very small hat about that big, doesn't really actually understand other cultures at all, or take all that much effort beyond doing the photo op and doing a bit of cuddly photo opportunities. Given the size of our families and the traditional way of life in a busy Charedi household, cars are vital for transporting children to and from school, attending shul, and going to work. Yes, because the size of the average Orthodox Jewish family in Stamford Hill is quite large. There's quite a lot of kids. People are encouraged to procreate and have kids and have large and very traditional families. And if you wander about there, you'll see grandfathers, grandmothers, kids, grandkids, everyone interacting. And you'll see quite a lot of kids, mobs of kids about. Unusually, if you walk about some other bits of Hackney, sadly you won't anymore. Which seems a bit sad, because we're not going to be here forever, and the kids are the next generation. But there you go. It's not realistic to suggest parents take 7 children to school on a bike. Not really, unless it's going to be a very large and specially made bike. I want to see this bike. Most cars in our area are practical 7-seater vehicles. Yeah, you'll see a lot of people wagon type vehicles up in Stamford Hill. Okay, some of the driving leaves something to be desired up there, but that's another matter. However, Hackney Council points to census data that shows the majorities of households in southwest and northern Stamford Hill report not owning a car or van. A spokesperson also the town hall had introduced school street exemptions for the community's private registered school minibuses, medical emergency Hatzola, and neighbourhood watch showman vehicles. While many Charedi families do use cars to get around, there is also significant walking and cycling to school among the Charedi community in the area. A couple of points about this for the wonderful folks at Hackney Council. Yeah, there would be. Jewish people cannot use transport to go to a synagogue on a Saturday. On the Sabbath day, they must walk if possible. So there'd be plenty of walking for that reason. Also, a lot of the stuff in Stamford Hill is relatively close. So yes, it would be easier to walk, but you can't exactly take 6 kids all the time by walking. And you can't stick the shopping for 6 kids and have everyone carry it if you've got small children. Traffic levels in Hackney remain lower than before the pandemic. Journeys made by car within the borough are decreasing, and the majority of households in Stamford Hill area do not own a car. I am very tempted to go and stand at Stamford Hill and stand there for about 30 minutes and just hold up a camera and challenge that assertion. Because Stamford Hill at peak times in the evening, the traffic is, the word Ramo would come to mind. Basically, if you're young enough to walk back to, if you're going to Mare Street or somewhere, you may as well do it, because you're going to be stuck waiting for ages. And you may not get on the first, second, third, or fourth bus. We want to support people who need to drive for improving road safety for those who don't. Well, here's a tip for Hackney Council, chaps. Why don't you interact with local communities and ask what their needs are and ask what their cultural backdrops are, rather than just do, empty bits of virtue signalling and empty sort of displays of we're saving the planet. It's not really Hackney Council's job to do any of that anyway. If Hackney Council stuck to sort of actually logistical stuff, such as just repairing property and repairing the roads and stop trying to be everything to everyone and telling us about wood-burning stoves or this and that political concern, it might be far better, and if they return to an older model of what a local council should be. This part of the borough is largely represented by Conservative councillors, which of course means that Hackney Council finds them quite a pain in the bottom, as of course Hackney is notoriously a safe seat for Labour. I could probably get a teddy and put it and run it for Hackney, and if I was to do so for the Labour Party, and have it win. I rarely go on about this area of London, but this one article struck me as something to go on about, because it shows that our local council just really isn't that in tune with local needs at a deeper level. It might tell you it is. You might get some lovely photo-oppy stuff if you go to their Facebook page. When it comes to it, well, that's a different matter.